guys, welcome back to Fertility Awareness 101. I'm Jackie Bloom and this is video number 5 in this video series. We are still talking about your first fertile sign, which is your waking basal body temperature. Now, up until this point, we've really been talking about like the back end information about this fertile sign, like why this information is important, what it even has to do with fertility, how does temperature relate to your fertility, and why should you care? That's kind of what we've covered up until this point. Like, what is your basal body temperature going to show you? That's what we've been talking about. So today is exciting though, because we are going to start talking about how to use this information. Like, what does this look like in a practical, everyday use of the method? And what we are talking about specifically today is how to take your waking basal body temperature. Now, I think most of us throughout our lives, unless we stumble upon the fertility awareness method and start using it, taking our temperature is something that we do when we're sick or when we go to the doctor, they take our temperature. And other than that, we really don't think much about how to take your temperature. It's just like, it's a thing that you do sometimes. So I know it sounds kind of funny to say, I'm gonna teach you how to take your temperature, but there are some specific things that you need to know when you are taking your temperature for the fertility awareness method, because it is a little bit different, and obviously we're doing it for a different reason. So that being said, there are 5 main things we are going to go over. And these are things that you need to know in order to effectively take your basal body temperature for fertility awareness. Okay, so let's get started. Number 1, the most important thing to know about taking your basal body temperature is that you need to take it first thing in the morning when you get up, before doing anything else. Taking your temperature has to be the first thing. So before you get up and go to the bathroom, before you grab your phone and start scrolling through Instagram, it has to be the first thing. Here's why. Like we talked about in the first video, if you remember, the whole reason we take our temperature is because it is a reflection of our metabolic rate, which is influenced by our hormones. So as soon as you start doing things, you raise that metabolic rate, and you're not going to get an accurate reading, because at that point it's going to be reflecting you moving around, you getting up, you doing whatever else you're doing, and it's not going to show you what you need to know, that very vital information, which is that base metabolic rate that you get to when you're sleeping. So that's why it's so important that you take your temperature first thing before you do anything else. Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2 is that you need to take your temperature every single day. This isn't something that you can just do like every now and then, or take it like every other day, or just on Mondays and Fridays or whatever. You have to do it every day, because with fertility awareness, we observe a pattern in your temperature over the length of your cycle. We can't just look at one day of information and say, okay, I'm fertile or I'm not fertile. You can only do that when you are comparing one day to what has come before it, and you're observing that pattern. So it's super important that you do it every single day in order to get the information that you need. Number 3 is that you want to get yourself a basal body thermometer. Now, the main difference between this type of thermometer and a regular thermometer is that it measures your temperature to a 100th of a degree versus a 10th of a degree, like a regular thermometer does. And the reason that that's important is because it gives us more precision, more accuracy in your temperature data, and we are oftentimes looking for very subtle shifts in your temperature. So the more precision we have, the more we can see those shifts in temperature. So it actually ends up being very important in the practical application of the fertility awareness method. And you will start to see that yourself as you use the method more. Now, the thermometer that I like to use, you can find a link to on my website. It is this one right here, and I got this on Amazon. And I really love this thermometer, actually. It has some great features that I was looking for a while, and I tested out a few different ones to find the one that I like the most. And that's the one I went with. It has a backlight, which is really helpful when you're taking your temperature in the dark. It records temperatures from previous days, which is also very helpful, and it even has an alarm feature, which I don't personally use, but also can be very helpful. So basal body thermometer is what you want to look for. Okay, moving on to number 4. Take your temperature at about the same time every morning. Now, some women get a little bit caught up on this one, so I just want to go ahead and clarify. It does not have to be exactly like to the minute, the same exact time every day. Anything within about an hour range of when you take your temperature is completely acceptable. So if you normally wake up at 7 and one morning you wake up at 6:30 or you wake up at 7:30, that's okay. That's okay. If it is a little bit off from your normal time, you just want to go ahead and make a note about that on your chart so you know. But typically, if you've slept the same amount of time that you usually do and you're within about an hour in either direction, you're fine, no big deal. It's more important that you think about taking your temperature every day no matter what, and just making those notations if the time is a little bit different. All right, and finally, number 5, you want to make sure that you get at least 3 hours of consecutive sleep before taking your temperature in the morning. Now, the reason that this is important goes back to what we were talking about with your metabolic rate and how your waking temperature is a reflection of that metabolic rate. Now, if you don't sleep for at least 3 hours consistently, your metabolic rate doesn't have a chance to get down to that base level. So that's why it's really important. And actually, the amount of sleep that you get before taking your temperature is more important than taking it at exactly the same time. So let's say, for example, you normally wake up at 7, we'll use the same time as before. Now let's say on one day you wake up at 5 and you have to go to the bathroom. It would be better for you to take your temperature when you get up at 5 and then go to the bathroom and go back to sleep than for you to get up, go to the bathroom, go back to sleep, wake up at 7 and then take your temperature, because you would have only had at least, at the most 2 hours of sleep in between that time if you did it that way. And that's going to throw your temperature off more than if you just took it 2 hours early or earlier than you normally do. So the amount of sleep that you have before taking your temperature is actually very important. So remember to get at least 3 hours of consecutive sleep before taking your temperature in the morning. And that's gonna do it. Those are the 5 most important things that you need to know about taking your temperature for the fertility awareness method. So let's go ahead and just do a quick run through of the 5 tips that we went over so you can see it all in one place. Number 1, take your temperature every day first thing in the morning before doing anything else. Number 2, make sure you take your temperature every day so you can observe the pattern in your temperature over the course of your cycle. Number 3, use a basal body thermometer. Number 4, take your temperature at about the same time every day. Within an hour time frame is 100% acceptable. Number 5, get at least 3 hours of consecutive sleep before taking your temperature. And that's gonna do it, guys. Those are the 5 most important things you need to know about taking your temperature for fertility awareness. I'm gonna see you guys in the next Fertility Awareness 101 video where we talk about how to chart your temperature. So I will see you guys there. Bye.